This episode of the podcast is brought to you by LeafWell.
Hello, Cannabinoid Connect listeners. Have you ever thought about getting a medical card? The process can be intimidating and hard to navigate. That's why I've partnered with LeafWell, the easiest and most affordable way to get a medical card in Texas and 32 other states in the U.S. LeafWell seamlessly connects you to a network of doctors that will help you get certified online in minutes. LeafWell is run by data scientists, cannabis specialists, and patient advocates that are passionate about increasing access and education around medical cannabis. LeafWell's patient support team is also there to support you throughout your entire journey using medical cannabis. As I've mentioned, I've partnered with LeafWell to provide all my listeners with a discount to become certified for medical cannabis. Simply go to their website at leafwell.com and use the promo code CCTX to receive $15 off the price of getting a medical card. LeafWell only charges you if you get approved, so what do you have to lose? Visit their website at leafwell.com today and use the promo code CCTX to get certified for medical cannabis. Risk-free. Charles, what's going on, man?
Hey, Kevin, good to be talking to you.
Good to be talking to you as well. I'm so excited. I think you might be the first guest, and I apologize if I'm incorrect about this, but who's like representing the Ohio scene, Ohio cannabis. Man.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
Holding it down. I'm sure that I've talked to operators that have dispensary operations or whatever, in Ohio and the Northeast, but you're there. You're living it, man.
I'm living the dream. I'm in Cincinnati at kind of like the bottom corner of the state, but Ohio's got a lot of cities touching the corners. So
That's right. I mean, let's talk a little bit about, the Ohio scene before we get into, of course, your background and your position as the founder of Goldleaf. But I mean, from what I've read, recent article, I think from Marijuana Business Journal or Marijuana Moment, it was talking about Ohio lawmakers facing this deadline of May 3rd to basically get their act together for recreational cannabis legalization until they put it up to the voters. Are you hearing a lot of action and things happening within Ohio? Or
yeah, I'm hopeful, but I feel like I've been hopeful for the last decade. And I guess the good news is that there's continued interest and momentum into getting those ballot initiatives going. So yeah, this one would be great. It would kind of break up some of the current policy that was created by legislators as opposed to a ballot initiative. So there's a lot of complaints, and I think there's probably always going to be a better way to do it from somebody's perspective in any state. But I think this ballot initiative, if it passes, it would really open things up in terms of small businesses. And access. Like I have my card in Ohio, and in Cincinnati, there's barely any locations you can go to. And I'm looking at like a 35-minute drive at the closest one, and it's not like I live out in the sticks. I'm like right in Cincinnati. So that's super common, and so having more licenses, more ability, that's just going to be better for medical patients, and then really anybody else, including the government, who stands a lot to gain with the tax revenue.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so what does that medical scene look like? I mean, you have your card, so is it
Yeah.
pretty difficult to obtain one? I mean, I'm not gonna think it's as extreme as Texas, where you have to have a serious ailment like cancer or whatever. But what does that process look like? And what are the products? Are they high quality? Are they good?
Yeah. Great questions there, Kevin. You do have to have one of very few qualifying conditions in order to get your card. And that is governed by you seeing a doctor, you having it on your medical record. So for that reason alone, and because they have a very narrow list, you're limiting a great deal of potential value to people who want to, utilize it. But the double-edged sword here is to manage this. They opened it up to small businesses to make these connections with doctors. And so enterprising physicians or physicians who want to be on like the bleeding edge of wellness and medical science obviously are fine like prescribing that. So, if you see one within one of the networks of these businesses that have kind of bubbled up to facilitate, then, I don't want to say you're virtually guaranteed. You still have to pass all those qualifications on paper, but it's more of a formality. At least that was my experience and several of my colleagues. So it's good they're doing it, and I feel like they're there to address any like real problems. But in my case and in their cases, it was something where it was pain or autoimmunity, which are very hard to quantify medically. They're very broad. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things would qualify for those. And, you just have to say like, yeah, I have a history of this. Here's my medical records. And if you want it, you can access it. So, is it perfect? Certainly not. But I feel like it's not a huge barrier. What the big barrier is the fact that you have to pay like $150 a year to maintain access.
Really?
So yeah, so there's like a fee for to maintain that ID. And you have to have that when you go in. And it still has that when you go into a dispensary, it still has that like that vibe of like, well, you got to go to the waiting room. Here's your armed guard. He's just going to watch you. Don't leave your laptop there.
Is it like that? They have like a guard and everybody's standing. So it's like not even very well. I mean, obviously, I guess that would make sense, right? Because it's not really an open market where there's like that inviting vibe that the recreational side has.
Yeah, they really try to make it welcoming, but you just have to check the boxes of like, did we have like armed security? Because it's like cash only system, so it's probably more for that.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but they try to make it welcoming, but you're in that kind of waiting room area, and then they'll call you back, and it's like you can only have like depending on the staff, like 2 people in at a time or 4 people in at a time. And when you go through the pearly gates, it's very nice in there. It's like what you'd see in Oregon or Colorado or something. They've got a lot of accessories on display. It can be very like chic looking. And in terms of like the access to the product, they do have a lot of items, but these are all coming from very few like grow ops,
Right.
So there's not tons of diversity, and there's not consistent diversity. Like you can go there and be like, look, I really need something with this particular terpene profile, no CBD in, or whatever you want. And you maybe find like a flower that's perfect. Well, they probably won't have it again till like maybe the next year or something. So it's always changing. So if you do want to have some of those more
kind of like the black market, right? You don't know what you're gonna get, or like I mean, like not in the sense of it operating like a black market. Let me make that be clear. I just mean in the sense that you don't know what you're getting with the product because it always changes.
Right. Yeah, it depends on the growers, maybe what they're up to, and it has that similar feeling. And I think like the grow ops, like there's like 3 in the state that like meticulously do not use any chemicals. It's like a very, very clean product. And so I love supporting them. But again, it's just kind of consistency. And if an issue happens with their facility, they're kind of in danger. Like there's license restrictions where they have to maintain a certain weight to keep their license, or they lose it. So like, what if there's like an aphid outbreak or something that it's like we lost the crop, because that happens. What if that happens? I mean, they could be at risk of losing their facility if they don't like have a, I don't know,
steady revenue to like fall back on, right? And like
and their license. The state would be like, well, you didn't make your weight this year or whatever, so we're gonna have to give it to somebody else. So the ballot initiative would, my understanding is kind of clean up that kind of stuff, which I'm all about.
Right. Would do the medical programs right now? So you mentioned that the patients themselves have to pay that annual fee just to like keep the license, right? Which is kind of, that's like different. I haven't heard of any state, like, unless that's common, but it's new to me. But my question is,
I don't know either.
Yeah, the medical dispensaries themselves, though, do they have to maintain a yearly license? I would assume so, right? And is
Oh yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of fun like extra steps you go through. Like you've got a card that gives you X amount of days. And that's what the doctor was going to do too. He'll be like, all right, I'm going to approve you for 30 days supplies. So what that, and I might have the lingo wrong, but what that translates to is like what Ohio deems is the maximum amount for a day. So it's like an absurdly high amount. So I hate going there, so I'll go there like, once I need to, and I'll
right.
just I'll just get a bunch of stuff and put it in the freezer, and like,
Just
then I
save
can
it, like store up.
control it a
Yeah.
little bit, because I don't utilize a lot. Like I enjoy microdosing. It really helps me for what I want. So I don't go through it so fast. So I like doing that. But yeah, I'm sorry, 1 second.
No, you're fine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, what was I saying?
You were just talking about microdosing and kind of like how you kind of like to do it that way. And
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I was going to the dispensary at and kind of stocking up so you don't have to visit it often. And
right.
I'll utilize, like, they're like, well, you use 2 days of your 30 days. After that, I'm like, 2 days? That was 2 days worth. And so
It's even
there,
hard to keep up with. Like shit, you
oh
have to
no, I
like
mean, it's a superficial number. Like we had to set some limit. So we don't
yeah,
want to like impinge on what works for you. And maybe some people need that much, but
sure.
and yeah, apologies for that. My cat's here at my feet, biting me. I can see you've got a pup back there too. So
Oh, we got three of them, man. We got a wolf pack, so I get
oh,
it. And if
cool.
if there's any barking going on, I might go on mute. But no, so obviously, Charles, I mean, you know a lot about this plant and you have some extensive experience with it. So let's shift and talk about you. I mean, from what I read in your bio, you were former volunteer with the Marijuana Policy Project. Obviously you're the founder of Goldleaf, and I'm really excited to be talking with you about, design and the importance of that, within the cannabis space. But
Yeah.
let's start with you. What would brought you to become a volunteer, at first and be where you're at today?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess my I kind of came at cannabis initially from like a social justice side. That's kind of what captured my interest. I don't know. I was like in my I just kind of started college and was kind of exposed to it for the first time from how I grew up. And yeah, I was really interested in it from that perspective. I obviously like sort of had this weird connection with it from just listening to music, growing up and like being really into music. And so
What kind of
that's
music did you like?
oh man, at the time, this was in the late 90s, so like grunge, like early, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but like early new metal.
Okay,
You know
yeah,
what
I
I
remember
mean?
that. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
at the time, like that was just
That
into
was
that.
like new. That was like up. I mean,
It
people the
was. It was
mosh pit.
like,
It wasn't like not quite mosh pit, but more like headbanging, right? Like
yeah,
real rock. Like
yeah. Well, like Rage Against the Machine.
yeah,
So
corn.
yeah, Corn was. I liked some of the when Corn got big was kind of when I was drifting away from that style of music. Um, but early Corn was like weird. It was so weird. Like,
It
what are
was.
these guys doing? But you liked it because it was heavy or whatever. Um, but yeah, there's lots of cannabis references in music, like Bone Thugs and Harmony and 311. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had this like personification of it that was so like inaccurate. Like I was just blown away at how I had only kind of seen one side of it. And so the social justice stuff really got me. And I wanted it to be something that people where I lived could access. And so I just kind of kept my ear to the ground with with various things we could do to kind of, I don't know, push things forward in the state of Ohio. And when Marijuana Policy Project kind of came up, they were going to help with a ballot initiative in the state, and they were like batting 1,000 at the time. So if they came to your state, it was going to happen, and that was like super exciting. And that's kind of when the legislative process started, where the conservative lawmakers of the state were like, we see the writing on the wall. We're gonna do a strategy to stop you from passing your ballot initiative by legalizing it ourselves. And which is progress. I mean, it's progress. They didn't do like the worst job at it. They let it happen. But there's a lot of oddities. Like also in Ohio, one of the conservatives writing the law was like, yeah, we can do this, but you can't smoke it. It's illegal to smoke it. So
what?
Yeah, so you're not allowed to smoke. You cannot combust it.
Oh, like edibles. You have to like ingest it.
No, they sell flour and everything. You just have to vape that flour.
What?
Yeah. So
let me just
funny that you don't.
Oh, go ahead. Pause, because Texas is the same way. It's so weird. Like in the hemp industry, there is a smokable hemp ban, which meant that Texas retailers could not sell Texas flower, like grown hemp, but they would allow the sale of hemp flower from out of state. Does that make any sense?
No.
So it basically is hurting the Texas farmers, like straight up. It's just saying you can't sell your flower, but we'll take it from other states.
Yeah.
What the logic was there. Anyway, I wanted to segue because it just, some of these conservative policies, I don't think they really understand the plant at all. And so they're trying to, like you said, like they're trying to make progress, but then they're like, we're taking 2 steps back at the same time.
Yeah.
It's doesn't make sense.
It's unfortunate, but the pendulum's always swinging. So I feel like we're still inching forward, which is great.
Right. We'll take the
win. I mean, I got my card here. This is a crazy story. The dispensary that I go to was a place that I would bike to as a kid and buy Coca-Colas for the Red Hot Summer Coca-Cola Under the Cap game. I don't know if you remember that.
I do, yeah.
You could, yeah. I would bike there and buy them, and now that place is the dispensary. It's wild. It's wild.
Beautiful.
So,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not I'm complaining maybe, but Ohio's been pushing it forward, and that's what counts.
That's right.
So I actually lived in Texas for a while after college, and in Austin.
Nice.
And then I bounced around. I lived in Colorado for a bit. Came back to Ohio because we have family here, and kind of just settled in Cincinnati. Cool old city. I kind of got into the business world through another kind of entrepreneurial effort. The people I met, the things I learned, kind of primed me for starting Goldleaf in like 2016. So it's been a while.
Man, yeah, you guys have been operating for, I mean, what, it's over 6 years, right?
Yeah.
It is 6. Yeah, you're going on 7 at this point. That's a long time, man.
It is a long time. It feels like a long time sometimes, just because like I'm still you still deal with some of the same things that you figure you would have kind of evolved past, just with like prohibitions. Like I've never been able to do anything with Goldleaf where I feel like I've put my best effort forth in terms of like promoting and showing people the work. Because we're kneecapped by the same things that other cannabis business would have,
Which is wild because you're not even plant touching, right? I mean,
we're not.
For those listening and watching, why don't you give a quick overview of what Goldleaf is?
Yeah, happy to. So Goldleaf is an educational design company, And we're most known for like these guided journals that we make for medical patients, for enjoying, for recreation, and for growing, cultivating. And we also do a lot of data visualization and infographics, but we try and treat it like an art piece. So they're hopefully really cool to look at, and the information kind of contained is, magically about cannabis science. So that's Goldleaf in a nutshell. So we're essentially, I guess, we're registered as a publisher or print company. So not plant touching. We I mean, I can't even say that we take many stances like with the data that we'll show. Like we're not trying to convince somebody to use cannabis. We're simply highlighting the stuff that is interesting about it as a botanical. So Goldleaf takes this clinical approach. We do a lot of collaborations and partnerships with, thought leaders and experts in the industry. And that's kind of what I love about it is it lets me kind of keep a foot in the game with, interacting with people in the community, hearing what's going on, and, helping out where we can.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I mean, the cannabis prints and the coffee prints are just beautiful, man. I mean, I was browsing through your website, and I also want to thank you. You did send a cannabis journal. However, it was perfect timing because I gotta say, my dad has started to consume cannabis again now that New Mexico has gone
Oh,
recreational.
nice.
So
Yeah.
what's amazing is that he's like, I'm trying these different strains and I like one, but then I'd like the other. I don't know where, I can't remember, kind of keep up with all the things that I'm trying to. And I said, Dad, I got the perfect thing for you. So I gifted
Awesome.
it to him, man, and he's been using it and he loves it. So I really just wanted to thank you for
Cool.
that. And it's been good for him because I mean, with me, I've been consuming for a while, so I kind of know what I
Sure.
like, I mean, I don't have it down to where we're in Texas, so I don't know what I'm getting right at this point, but I know the smell and so on. But it was really great for him. So thanks for that. And I want to ask you, so why is design? I mean, I would imagine why design is so important in your field, right? And what you're doing at Goldleaf, because design's everything. But so tell me talk to me a little bit about that, but then also tell me why design is so important within cannabis in general.
Yeah, yeah, good question there. I think Goldleaf essentially makes our living off of our designs. So like that's kind of the product that we do. Not the paper that it's on or whatever, but so it is very important, and I feel like that's kind of what we brought to the table initially. So all of our stuff has kind of I said the word clinical before, but it has like this intentional minimalism. It's very like clean and I don't know, like sort of a type of modern looking.
Mm-hmm.
All of the pieces, including the journals, like just the aesthetic of it. So at the time, and even still, like that kind of helps treat the subject with a little bit more maturity and respect. Like back in 2016, the only products out there, the only cannabis branding out there were tropes, were like sort of jokes on the 420 stoner vibe.
Right.
And some of that art is cool, but it was just all like overused, and the style itself became a stigma. So I know
Yep.
that.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I wanted to intentionally do something that was so different that it surprised you. It was about cannabis, something that you could see at a medical office and not balk at, um, and but also not be super like be super lame and boring. Like so
There's a fine line there, right? I
there is
mean,
like I realize I'm describing like a an insurance website, but that's not
no, but I would add
my
words
intent.
like sleek and elegant to your
Yeah.
designs,
Yeah,
because
thank you.
there's a certain kind of I don't know what the word is, but it's a classiness, it's an elegance, man. They're really beautiful. They are.
Yeah, I
born.
appreciate that. That was definitely something, I nurtured and cultivated. Like, was that look and that feeling that when you see it, it's like, oh, this is a little bit more like luxurious. I don't know,
Right, there you go.
something like that. So, it made the subject and it made the products more digestible and approachable. It really can catch somebody off guard. Like, I mean, Goldleaf, we have an insurance company, we have a bank, we have all of these services that we utilize, like UPS pickups and all that. And everybody now knows what we do. And nobody, even some of the groups where you'd be like, really, they were cool with it. Um, they appreciated the way that we approached it. We weren't. It's not in your face, and but it's we're
You're
not going
talking
to
about
pretend
you're
it
talking
doesn't
about all the
exist.
service companies that you would need to operate as a cannabis business. Of course,
Yeah,
non-plant touching, but the fact that your design has really carried that through is what you're saying, right?
yeah. I think. Thank you for articulating that.
No,
I
I wanted to make sure that I was getting it. Yeah, yeah. I'm not.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
Because you run into a lot of businesses. Just I don't know, like the local Better Business Bureau rep, or uh, somebody who's coming to fix your printers in the office or something like that. They're like, oh, it's a cannabis business, but they see like the people working here. They see like how we treat people, and which is good. We treat people well, and they're diffused. Like, even they're like, well, it's not my thing, but this, they like it. So I forget how I got on that tangent,
No, I
but
mean it's definitely a nice thing. I'd say it's a nice to have. I mean, I know you probably didn't lead with that thinking because you just wanted it to look that way, but it's a nice added thing to have because there's a lot of companies that have to deal with bullshit when it comes to that, right?
yeah,
Banking and even delivery, like you mentioned, UPS and others. Like, there's probably a lot of questioning, and so that is nice. I mean, you don't have to worry about that because the product speaks for itself, right? In an elevated way outside of their normal thinking of this industry. And I'm curious because I mentioned earlier there's the cannabis prints and then the coffee prints. So what's
yeah.
the connection with coffee? Why coffee?
I kind of always wanted Goldleaf to be a botanical science, like, so just botanicals in general, right? I think there's a lot of super interesting stuff to talk about with all kinds, from like um, tea to mushrooms to cannabis, coffee. Um, and there is a lot of similarities between coffee and cannabis. I mean, for one, this isn't an official study, but most people who like good coffee probably all, or most people who like cannabis probably also like good coffee. Um,
Yeah.
Not always, but
I would say
I
the
feel like
connoisseurs, the ones who have smoked for a while, like they enjoy. I would say that's true. Yeah.
yeah. There's just they go. It makes sense that there would be some sort of correlation because they're both different things that you like put in your body.
I do. I love
You
a
know,
cup of coffee and smoke
yeah.
a bowl, or, yeah.
But it was kind of just an exercise to play around with more botanical designs and learn more about these nuances that we can kind of bring to light. Because with cannabis, I won't say that we've done everything. We haven't, but we have like tackled virtually every scientific subject about them in some form. So we're building on those, but for myself and the designers that I work with, it was fun to try out a new plan a little bit and apply some of the same like design techniques and thinking to it, because these are infographics and charts, and making them look like an art piece is part of it, but also having it be something that's like surprisingly useful information wise. Like a decarboxylation print. Sounds super boring, but it looks kind of appealing from a distance. It's colorful, and it's super helpful if you make your own cannabis oils or cook with cannabis, because it's a chart of time versus the cannabinoid changes. So you can kind of plan it out and look at it, and something you can go back to and peek in on, which is a feature I love about doing infographic design. Is they're useful, and their use is more than just one time.
Yeah, I love that you're striking that perfect balance of like sleek, beautiful design with education, right? The empowerment of education. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, design's everything. I think like one interesting thing we've kind of been playing with internally is some of the like AI art generation, because we do a lot of like B2B work, like custom design for other cannabis brands, custom educational pieces. So we're doing a lot of different styles, and so it's not always this clean minimalistic Goldleaf style. Sometimes it'll be other stuff as well, and we've had a few projects that have utilized AI generated art as kind of some source material. And
Charles, how does that work? I mean, like, I'm curious, and then like I'm sure like those listening and watching. So like, because we've seen on social media, right? Like people share those AI generated portraits of themselves, right? So
yeah.
is that basically like AI generated art? Is that like you uploading an image and then AI being AI, like basically implementing its own design features and whatever, and then producing that for you? Like,
Yeah, kind of. I'll tell you how it works. So basically, what you're talking about is one use of it. Another one would be typing in a prompt and then it makes an image from scratch, so no source image. Another one might
but you
be
have to train it to do that, right?
you do, but you can utilize things that are already trained. So if you were
Oh,
designing an app, you can tap into like OpenAI, Dolly, to be your engine for you. And so basically, there's like a neural network that is making these computations to build out this image. But you're right; it's pulling from source material. So like, I know that there's a big argument. I was listening to a radio program about this today, actually, an argument about this, like you're scraping the internet to gather these images. Many of them are copyrighted images. And then your neural network is using that as its source material to make new things. But it's technically using that copywritten work to do it. So I can see why this is like contentious. Like some designers freaking hate AI and AI art. Some of them are like, just don't talk to me about it. And some of them treat it like a tool in the tool belt, because like you still have to be able to have an artistic eye to know what it poops out is good or not.
I mean, are they unhappy, like the artists that are unhappy with it? Is it because the art that's produced by AI is so similar to their original design concept, or is it that they're just pissed that they're using their original content as source material? Or is it probably both? I mean,
Well, I probably both. I think that's the arc of it. Like, for sure that they did use it.
yeah.
And that is how stuff is made. Is it trains itself on these images and in a way recreates them. It is not a human brain yet, where it's like, I've seen it, let me just see what I'm feeling. All right, here's something totally fresh. It's not doing that. It's taking tiny like bites of different things and stitching them together. So technically, I guess it would be using it. However, like, isn't that what sampling is? And
I
didn't we
was just gonna say
like...
that. Like, don't we do that as humans? So, like, bro, you just blew my mind, Charles. As you were talking, I was like, wait, what fucking theory are we talking about now? Because that's how humans are, right? I mean, in a way, like you hear the copy paste, I'm not going to go to that extreme, but like people take nuggets of certain, especially in art,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I would think that art is inspired by other ideas and concepts that have been previously produced.
Totally. I mean, I was talking about how I like grunge before. That is totally a reaction to other kinds of music.
So wow, yeah. So I mean, so what's your take then? I mean, we've talked it through. What's your feeling on like
I'm currently trying to treat it like a tool in the tool belt. I have a lot of fun with it. I think it's amazing, dude. It is amazing. Like, because it can do so much if you know what to do with it. I mean, it can be so useful, but is it taking over the job of a designer that I would hire? I think in some cases it is, but so that's a hard truth. But
is there a particular art that would replace it? Like, are you looking for one kind of design, or
great
is
question.
it all across the board?
Yeah. So what AI art does very well right now are like atopsical, abstract things. So if you're like, I want this picture to look like Monet or Paul Klee or one of these abstract artists, Picasso, it's gonna be freaking awesome, dude. Even like bizarre, like give me Salvador Dali, where it's like surreal, looks great. But if you're like, I need like Jennifer Lawrence standing with an eagle on her shoulder, holding a pen or something. It would probably get pretty close, but the one eyebrow would be up a little high, and it's like, how do you fix that? You can. So stacking images, you can, depending on the interface, you can have it fix it. But that's like the argument or the gripe about a lot of image generators is you almost got there, but you whiffed it. Like, why does that bird have a third wing? Like, come on.
And only they would. They would catch it, right? And it's just not.
It's not. You look at it and you're like, those are dead eyes. That is not a photo. No, but that'll be solved, man. Like, I bet by next year that will be solved.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think it's like here to stay. It is like really fascinating, and I've seen so many cool use cases for some of this stuff. I don't think it's gonna have a big place to play with Goldleaf yet in terms of our utilization, just because most of our stuff is infographic based. Right. We can't cut the corners, unfortunately, but we'll dabble in like art pieces that are cannabis inspired. We did like this cannabis travel art series where all the images are like vintage travel prints. We do a lot of botanical illustrations. And actually, I have not played around with AI to see how it does with botanical illustrations, but my guess is that it would be like 65% perfect, and then the rest of it would be like, I can't, like, nobody wants,
what is this?
I don't even know what to say,
Yeah.
And cleaning that up would be more effort than having somebody just do it right the first time. So you'd be salty, like, as the artist, like, why am I cleaning this shit up to like redesign it? Like, that'd be hell for that person. unless you're the artist selling the finished piece and you used it to save you 40 hours or whatever. So I think for any artist out there, think of it like a tool in your tool belt, because it's not going anywhere, and people are going to be using it to replace design jobs and to devalue art. So that really sucks, but it's the truth.
Adapt or die, man. I mean, I think that's the sad truth, but you're so right. I mean, that's kind of one thing I want to dip my toes in the metaverse, because I think eventually we're going to have ads in the metaverse, and you're going to need to learn how to market to those consumers. But I'm not ready yet. I'm not either. I'm not ready.
But you're right. I think that could possibly be the first like place for cannabis marketing.
Good, right?
To really try it. Because I mean, there's not a reason that they shouldn't have not that I love beer ads, but sometimes beer ads are great, and they definitely have a lot of marketing dollars they spend. And maybe I'm going to backpedal on this. I'm not saying I want that with cannabis brands, but they could do a lot if it were able. They could do great things. Some brands would.
Let's if I get the headset, let's do a podcast in the metaverse, you and I. First Cannabinoid Connect episode in the metaverse.
Yeah, I'll have to get one too. I did try one out at Christmas. My nephew got one.
Yeah.
He made me do a roller coaster one. I did get dizzy. I did have to take it off.
That's kind of you went like head first with a roller coaster. That seems like it'd be very disorienting at first.
It was. It sucked. But
yeah, like walked around in VR chat or something.
I know. I've seen, like, I do some web development, and I've seen, like, they'll put them on, and all of a sudden they've got like all these displays all around them, and they're at like their computer console. And so really all you need is a keyboard, a mouse, and like your what is it, Oculus?
Yeah, the Oculus.
But the idea of wearing that all day is the worst. Like that's a nightmare, man.
For sure. No, that would be so uncomfortable. No, I couldn't do it either. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to say on the AI discussion. I saw this really cool post. The artist is Arjun Rampal, Rampal. And he, I guess, did this AI generated art where it's countries as villains. So literally,
I've seen that, dude.
Did you see that?
Yeah, that was
fucking
awesome.
Cool.
That was so cool. Yeah.
I mean, they had like the US, they had Jamaica, they had China, they had Russia, they had, I mean, all these different countries and how they would be portrayed based off like, the culture, the people, the everything. And it was pretty wild, man.
It is. I honestly think that it probably took them a little bit of time to dial those in. So
I would imagine it's so detailed.
It's so detailed, and there's not like those things I was telling you about, like an extra arm. You know what I mean? Like they're
right. So there's no extra arms,
unless it's supposed to have an extra arm, right. and then it would look great.
Right.
No, but yeah. So there is. It's more of like I can imagine it, and I've got the ability to control it. So like if you're really good at building Legos, you might be like a natural fit for solving some of these problems with AI, because you just have to figure out how to tell it to do that.
Right.
Yeah, it's super cool, man.
It's wild. I wanna ask you this as we wrap up, Charles, and that's what's Goldleaf focused on in the new year? We're in January 2023. I think you kind of touched on maybe some new design concepts and new projects you're working on, but if you really want to expand on that.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So we've got a couple things coming down the pipeline. One of them that's pretty cool is this like choose your own adventure infographic series. So for people who like Where's Waldo and mind map things, I don't know. Like I would see these in magazines when I was a kid, and it's basically a mind map. You start in one spot and it asks you little questions, and you follow it down, and it then gives you an answer. So it's pretty neat and novel for like an infographic. I'm nerding out here briefly. And the idea is that it'd be mostly for rec, because we intentionally can't get into the medical side. We don't really do that anyway. We can just do really broad strokes. But for like the enjoyment standpoint, we can kind of walk you through and give you like a starting point. So it'd be great for like your dad. Well, maybe not. He sounds like he's seasoned pro at this point.
He's getting back into it. He's getting there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this might be cool because delivery methods are on there.
For
so
sure.
you're like, I want something mild, but is immediate and is cheap and portable. And then, ask you other things like, about your mood or your feelings, and then it'll kind of land on a little grouping of things to start out with. Gotcha. So good for like being at a dispensary, not knowing where to start. And it's just kind of like pleasing and fun to look at. So, but those have taken a really long time to do for probably obvious reasons. Like we want to get it right, and kind of engineering these different questions and answers without having too much duplicate stuff has been kind of crazy. So that, and then we're working on like a coffee table book.
Is it
That
about
is,
coffee tables?
yeah,
Just
no,
kidding.
but it
That's a
has little
Seinfeld
legs that fold
reference.
out. Yeah, no, I know it. But it's like a kind of like a picture book of lots of cannabis science, like all in one, like kind of designed, well designed, fun to look at hardcover book.
See, that sounds like something up my alley, man. I look forward to that coming out because I love those types of just coffee table informational books, easy to read, right? Like by
Yeah,
guests or whatever. So I'm gonna be looking out for that for
cool,
sure.
man.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that sounds good. You got some exciting stuff going on. Charles, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with before we wrap up, my man?
Um, how about our website? How about that?
There you
Shopgoldleaf.com
go.
or goldleaf.org. They both will go to the same place.
Boom. Shopgoldleaf.com. You heard it from Charles firsthand. We talked about so much great stuff, man. We jumped into the
Yeah.
whole Ohio cannabis scene, talked about AI generated art, of course, dove into Gold Leaf. I mean, this was great, man. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Kevin, thanks for having me on. It was good talking to you.
Of course. Yes. And thank you all for listening. Bye.